Good evening. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. How's everybody doing? What have you been up to this beautiful weekend? At least I hope it was beautiful for you. The weather was fantastic here. And of course, now we're just kind of getting into autumn now, and we've seen the end of summer now, I think. But yeah, weather was absolutely glorious. I was sitting in a hot tub on Friday night, having a few beers and enjoying definitely the last of what summer could bring. So, how on earth is everyone doing? We've got quite a few people in the chat tonight, nice and lively, nice and early. That's what I like to see. As you may have seen, if you saw the messages in Facebook and maybe on YouTube community, I had a weekend where literally last week I was stacked out with work. I left on Friday morning to go away and have a day of working away, and then sort of visiting friends Friday night, and Saturday I got back late Saturday night, Sunday with the family. So, and then I was away again like 5:30 this morning, back away with work. So, as I mentioned before, normally when we have a topic, I like to put quite a bit of kind of research in, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. Make some notes, so that kind of it's interesting for you to listen to. I haven't had time to do that this weekend. So, tonight's chat is more like some of the original live chats we had back in the day before I kind of settled into certain topics and things like that, and maybe a weekend where I couldn't come up with an idea or something. Tonight is just a bit of banter. It's what are you lot sort of what you've been playing, what are you looking forward to, what are you painting. Feel free to ask me any questions you want to ask me. We'll just have a bit of a ramble. It's not necessarily about one particular game. It's about every game. If it's tabletop related or kind of geek related, we'll talk about it tonight. So, with that said, I need you folks to be extra chatty in the chat tonight. Ask me questions, give me plenty of stuff to talk about, because even when I've kind of got a topic and I've got quite a lot to kind of talk about, speaking for 90 minutes non-stop, which is pretty much what I have to do, because there's no point. You don't want to see me sitting here going, that silence is really, really tough to kind of listen to. I appreciate that. So, I need you to be extra chatty tonight. So let's see who we've got in the chat tonight. We had Green Tree in about 2 hours ago, saying now that I'm a bit early, I'll check back later. Well, if you're back in now, Green Tree, thank you very much for popping in earlier. We've got Busey there, Different Gear TV, saying good evening, BlackJackers, and he wasn't the first one in the chat. Peter Nicholas, he's saying he's not first, but he had a podium place. He's definitely in now, so hello, Peter. Christopher Warden was in there just at 8:30 as well, says afternoon, or good afternoon to you, Chris. Steve Evans is in as well. He comes sliding in just beforehand there. Black's Cleric's in as well. Good evening, buddy. How are you doing? Mark's in as well. He's saying he'll be ready for the start. He's just finishing a game of Star Realms. Seem to be getting quite a bit of that in, mate. Hope you're enjoying it. Christian's in as well. Good evening, Christian. Pete Smith's come in as well. Of course, my chat always jumps off the top of the screen. I wish there was a way I could stop it from all of a sudden it'll just jump and I have to kind of try and catch my place again. Pete Smith, I think I said hello. Hello, Pete Smith. We got Crony29 says, hello everybody, 5 minutes to go. We're live now, buddy. Kyle's in as well. Good evening, mate. He said he's thought he'd have this on in the background while he's tidying the hobby space. That's quite a therapeutic little thing to do, isn't it? Like kind of tidy hobby space, tidy mind. It's quite a nice thing to do now and again. Peter's saying he can't tidy his, there's nowhere else to put it all. I feel that pain, mate. I've kind of filled my garage the last time I had a good tidy out. Marco says, hi all, Andy, greetings from Paris. He's away on business. Bonjour, or bonsoir, I should say. I'd appreciate it if you could give me some details for someone that has never been to a gaming convention. What should I bring to the weekender? Right, mate, I'll go into that a little bit. I will get through some of these see we got in the chat, and then we'll talk a little bit about the weekender as well. Steve says, what's Peter painting tonight? He's still doing his Basileans. I'm not surprised, mate. You got plenty to do, but yeah, he's smashing through those, mate. Nice to see. Peter says he's bringing a credit card. Crony's on with his Shattered Storm Vault. Very nice, mate. I hope to see some pictures of those. Marco says he's clear on painting some Warcry, but interested in Walking Dead 2. I have unpainted minis. What about painting? Nice one. Well, I'll tell you what, just very briefly on that. Do not worry about painting. There is no painting requirements for the weekender. It's intended to be completely casual. If you wanted to rock up to Element Games and buy something off the shelf, and you want to buy yourself a warband or something for Warcry, and you wanted to build it up and then play it in the event, it's all good, mate. You don't need it. There's no painting requirements. But we'll get on to the kind of details and stuff in a bit. Tom D says he's watching from work in California. Very nice, buddy. And thank you for joining us. Harjinder's in as well. He says, hey, dude, hope you're well. I'm not bad, mate. It's been a bit of a hectic day today, I'll be honest. I left for work about 5:30 this morning. I was just about to get to the office and somebody rang me and said, oh, don't bother coming in. So that when I say I'm just about to get to the office, it was about a 3 hour, 45 minute drive. I was about 15-20 minutes away and I got a phone call to say, don't come into the office. there's a bomb threat. So my office is at Manchester Airport. Manchester Airport was the train station right next to where my office is, was closed off today because there was a suspect package and there was a naked guy running about randomly. So they closed off all that. Everyone was evacuated. They did a controlled explosion. So whatever it was that they were unsure about, they blew it up. And everyone was kicked out of the office for the day. So I had to find somewhere else to work in Manchester. So I ended up going to one of our factories. So the day was a bit hectic. And I have literally kind of flew back through the door on my drive back from Manchester tonight. Back through the door, very quickly wolfed some food down and came in here with about 7 minutes left to spare. So I'm very good. Thank you very much for asking. But yeah, I haven't quite calmed down yet. I haven't quite relaxed. So no doubt I'll get there in a bit. 12 News says, what's the topic today? The topic is whatever you want to talk about, mate. We're going to talk about the Weekender. We'll talk about, what else will we talk about? We'll talk about Beastgrave, which is up for pre-order at the minute. We'll talk about maybe Crisis Protocol, the Marvel game. We'll probably talk a little bit about Kings of War 3 coming out soon. We'll have a bit of a chat about anything, mate. Warcry, what are you looking forward to Warcry? Is anybody going to the event in December at Warhammer World? If you are, let me know and I'll see you there. Yeah, you name it, we'll be chatting about it tonight. Christian has sent to Steve, get back into Walking Dead minis for him as well. He's run out of Burrows and Badgers minis to paint. I'm not surprised, mate. You look like you kind of enjoyed painting those ones. They were fantastic. Claudio says, hey everyone, he's painting some Riverguard for Vanguard. Nice to see you here, Claudio. Tim Cafferty's in as well, says hello. Good evening, buddy. Gary Powell's in. Hello, mate. How are you doing? Long time no speak. Pete said he's building some savage big stabbers for 3 reasons. A Warcry warband, allies for his Iron Jaws, and for the new Auric War Clan book. Yeah, perfect timing, mate, eh? Michael Marines is in as well. He's working on his Dwarf Army. Michael, what Dwarf Army for what, mate? Is that for AOS? Is it for Kings of War? Is it for Vanguard? Let me know what it's for, mate. Peter's working on his Legions in the Gash for Warcry. Got the Weekend Geek, says, sup, BlackJack? Hello, buddy. How are you doing? I don't think we've spoken in quite some time as well, so nice to see you dropping in. Skull Muncher's in as well. Good evening, buddy. Hope you've brought the hashtag top bands tonight. Of course, let's jump off the top of my screen again. Black's character is rebasing his Secrets of Third Reich stuff. Glenn Griffin's in as well. Hello, buddy. Christian's having a chat with Marco and Skull Munch there. We've got Timothy in. He says, will you be playing Beastgrave? To be honest, mate, I think it's like 99%. I will be playing it. I haven't pre-ordered it yet, but I think I might pick it up because a few reasons really. One is I always liked Shadespire when I played the first season of that, and I think I just got a bit burned out on it really. I think because at the time I was playing quite a lot of it. I was kind of trying to chase all the different war bands as you kind of do. You get both feet into it. And I think I just kind of burned out on it. I think the difference now is I feel like GW have got their head round what Underworld needs to be, and they're making a few adjustments in this 3rd season now. So the rotation of the Shadespire stuff coming out from a card perspective is quite interesting. So I think you don't feel like you're getting in sort of with too much kind of catch-up if you wanted to play competitively. I've also heard something, and I don't fully understand it yet, but they're doing something about the way they're releasing warbands now. And with the cards that are inside, I think there's almost like a pre-built deck in those warbands, which is not like how it's been in the past. And I just think some of the rules and stuff are being cleared up now and stuff. So that starter set for 3rd season is like £35-36 with discount. That's not too bad for a kind of a few minis that I like the look of as well, and wouldn't mind painting. I'm sure I can proxy them in for some stuff in Warcry as well, so they'll get multiple use. So yeah, I think I might be picking it up, mate. Yeah, definitely. Is anybody else picking it up? Let me know if you are picking it up, why you are. And if you're not picking it up, but you've played Underworlds before, let me know why you're not picking it up. Where are we? 12 News says, have you listened to the Godric audio dramas? I promise on my Fire Slayers only building a 750 point list. I haven't mate. I haven't listened to any of those, the Godric ones. I haven't listened to a lot of Warhammer audio books, if I'm honest. I've started to get into some of the lore and stuff through the Warcry stuff, so no doubt I'll try and catch up. I've been listening to a lot of Doug from 2 Plus Tough, a lot of his video stuff about the lore, so I've kind of had that in the background when I've been painting and things. And yeah, so I'll probably try and catch up with some of that at some point. I did start listening to a new audio book today on my kind of 7.5 hour round trip. I started listening to The Institution, new Stephen King book, which I'm really enjoying. Really quite sort of interesting. It's getting to a point now where the story's starting to unfold a little bit, and yeah, really enjoying that. So if anyone's interested, I'll let you know in a week's time what I thought of it. Marco was having a chat with Christian there as well. Tim Kelly's in. Good evening, buddy. Are you home tonight or are you away? Julian Ankers is in. He says he's joining tonight making a Nurgle list for AOS meeting engagements and any ideas just for a club night. I don't know much about meeting engagement, mate. I know it's obviously smaller points and stuff like that, but I don't know a lot about it. I'm sure somebody in the chat will be able to point you in the right direction. James is in as well. Good evening, buddy. He said he's working on finishing touches for his flashy coats from his Start Collecting box. Nice, man. Nice. Green Tree's back. Evening, fella. John Kellogg's in. He says, finally I can watch live. Usually I'm working. Well, good evening and welcome to the live chat. He says, oh, it's good afternoon. Good afternoon then. This is from Northern Illinois. Are you going to come over for Adepticon? John, I would absolutely love to come over for Adepticon, but not like kind of like none of my friends, none of my local gamers or anybody like I kind of make the trip from the UK, and I to be honest, I don't even know where to start about planning that trip, mate. I don't know a lot about how do I go ahead booking hotels, what do I have to enroll for and stuff. So it's on my kind of bucket list of gaming of a place I'd love to come to. I don't even know where to start, if I'm honest, mate. But yeah, maybe one day. Glenn said he's finished work and he's gone to the local game store for some Warcry, but sadly no one showed up as the weather wasn't great. Well, hopefully it's just a weather thing, mate, and it's not a sign of things to come. Tim saying he's been painting his Shattered Storm Vault, almost finished. Flying Mammal's in as well. Good evening, Flying Mammal. Paulie P's in. Jim Reed's in all the way from Fort Wayne in Indiana. He's building some Rebel Troopers and Commandos for Legion. I'm dead tempted to pick up the new Legion set, mind. I must admit, I was having a chat with Jay from Top Table Gaming, and also with the other Jay as well from Tabletop Oddity, just about Legion and kind of where it is at the minute. And when I bought the core set, I painted everything up, and then I decided to wait a bit because everything that was coming out was pretty much variations on Rebel Troopers and variations on White Stormtroopers. So I decided to wait a bit and then maybe get back into it later. And then I kind of got sidetracked with a million other games. But I think the game Legion, is really, really good. So I'm half tempted to kind of dip back in and start playing that again with the stuff I've got. And maybe over time paint the odd bits and pieces. But Warcry's been taking up a lot of my time lately, and I'm really enjoying that. So yeah, I'm trying not to kind of overcommit to stuff. Dice Guy's in as well. Evening, fella. How are you? Bobby Clark's in as well. Hello, Bobby Clark. And thank you for the follow on Instagram as well, mate. Your stuff is absolutely fantastic. I didn't put 2 and 2 together when I kind of saw your name in here. It wasn't until I saw the Instagram stuff as well. But yeah, awesome stuff. Nick Yellen's in, says, all right, my lovers. How are you doing, man? Flying Mama saying, bring everything. Michael's in as well. He says, a non-Warcry event. I'm back for a bit. Evening, mate. Yeah, I am still waiting for my Monsters and Mercenaries book and my the terrain kit. I think the postman's decided to lose it, so I've had to contact the company and get another one sent out, but hasn't arrived yet. So yeah, so unfortunately I can't even talk about that. I can't tell you what my thoughts are because I still haven't played any of it yet. But once I get the book and I get a couple of games in, then I'll be able to kind of talk about that stuff. But tonight didn't have much time to prep this weekend, so I just thought we'd have a bit of a ramble. Make it a bit of a kind of an all-comers type thing. Mark's saying he's been playing a lot of deck building games recently, really enjoying them, and he's moving house soon. Oh, mate, I feel your pain, man. I feel your pain. Michael's saying Voquette is a new WWX Mini, by the way. Huge. Very nice, mate. Steve says, is Andy broke? Andy broke. Have I missed that, mate? Is that... I'm not sure what that was in relation to, mate. My stream's going all right, isn't it? It's not the stream that's broke. Tim's saying those Legion minis are fun to paint. Yep. Where else we at? Loads of stuff going on. Ben Forsberry's in as well, saying good evening. Oh yeah, Peter saying the naked guy's package may have been more of a danger. That was obviously the kind of standing joke, typical British humour. There's a bomb threat, and we started making jokes about a naked guy with suspect packages. But yeah. Peter says they hope they didn't blow it up. They blew it up, mate. We've got Thorlem in as well. He says, evening, folk. Good evening. Steve clapping for Kings of War 3. We can have a chat about anything, mate. We always can. Pomsy's in as well. Good evening, mate. Where else are we at? See, Kyle saying he's pre-ordered Beastgrave. It's like Pokemon cards, gotta catch them all. I am tempted, mate, to pick up just the Beastgrave starter set and then just try and see where it goes from there. Forget everything that's gone before it. Not even worry about the Nightvault stuff, because I never bought any of that. And just play for fun, really. So yeah, I might dip my toe into that one, I think. Marcus Hunter's in as well. He's saying, hi room, hi Andy. Just taking a glance at the back of the Beastgrave rulebook with their defined sequences. Shows they're listening to the community. How are you looking at the back of the book, mate? Have you got it already? Tom D saying, is Warcry not being promoted very well? My local game stores and even GW stores are not promoting it here. No Facebook posts, tournaments, nothing. I guess it depends, mate. I mean, maybe it is very much more a narrative game, and I wonder whether that's putting some of the kind of stores and stuff off it. My local GW are running a campaign at the minute. I've seen a few events that have all been listed. We've got a Warcry event at our weekender, and in a couple of weeks' time, there's a Warcry event at Warhammer World that I'll be going to in December as well. So I'm still hearing plenty about it. I guess, but I've got a very narrow view of what's happening, really. So you tell me in your local areas, are people playing it? Is it getting picked up? Is your gaming group playing it? Is nobody playing it? James is saying he's got Beastgrave pre-ordered as well. Don't get to play Underworlds nearly enough. Yeah, it looks like you've pretty much picked them all up as well, mate. Paul saying he's getting Beastgrave because he enjoys the game. You play a little bit with your other half as well, though, don't you, mate? So I'm hoping maybe Lou might give this one a go as well. So because it's definitely more of a card game with miniatures, I think. So yeah, maybe we used to enjoy playing Star Wars Destiny together. This is maybe the next step from that. So who knows? King John's in all the way from Amarillo, Texas. Good evening, King John. Thorlim saying he's not picking it up, don't find it appealing miniatures wise, and don't play enough to invest in another edition. And that's fair enough, man. That's fair enough. Marcus has pre-ordered Beastgrave after glancing through it. Really likes it, and he also got Aeronautica. I was tempted with Aeronautica the other week purely because I just fancied something, a bit of a change or something different to paint. And then I kind of had a word with myself and then didn't go and get it. Michael's saying there it's going to be these Universal Dwarfs for AOS, Kings of War, and Vanguard. Nice one, mate. It's going to be for everything. Mark was saying, don't spoil Institute, please. Stephen King's my favourite author, currently on my bedside table. I will not spoil it, mate, but I'm listening to it as an audiobook. And like I say, I do a lot of driving and stuff with my job, so it's good to have something to listen to, and I'm really, really into it. It's been a while since I've been listening to an audiobook where I don't like turning it off when I get to my destination. I want to keep listening. So yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy it too, mate. Where are we? Marcus is saying, how's the weekend looking? It's looking pretty good, buddy, actually. We've got a bit of an announcement probably tomorrow. Actually, I wonder. Might even give you a little sneak peek of it now if I can do this in the background while we're looking. So let me just see if I can bring something up. Of course. I've got to try and do this on my screen while I'm talking now, so ignore me while I'm trying to do something here. Let me see if I can bring this up. So what we've got is let me flick across. And this is a bit of a sneak peek. We've not announced this yet, so I hope the guys don't mind me doing this. What we've done this year, with the help from a very special Mr. Paul Welsh, is we've got a registration page now, a website where you can put your name in, your email address, and then you can pick which events you want to take part in over the weekender. So as you can see here, there is Drowned Earth, there's Vanguard, there's Aristia, and there's Middle Earth on day 1. And then on day 2, we've got Warhammer 40k, Walking Dead, Warcry, and the other Middle Earth event as well. So what you can do is you can kind of put your preference down. You're not kind of tied into it. If you change your mind, don't worry about it. But it's just so we can get an idea of numbers and make sure we allocate the right amount of space to each event. And if there's one event that maybe nobody wants to play, or it's got low numbers, we can try and kind of rearrange it and just get some kind of pick-up games going. But it's every year or every event, we just try and do that little bit more that just tries to improve on the last one. And this is one of those things where a little bit of kind of pre-planning, I think, is going to help. So yeah, so this should go out for you to register your events in the next couple of days. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea about what we're trying to do to try and improve things. So let me know what you think of that, especially Flying Mammal and Christian and Sean, the people that were there last year, Tony. Do you think this will kind of help with trying to organise some of those events as well? So where's my mouse gone? Let me just bring that one down. That's it. So where are we at? I've got a bit of chat there. Tony's in, he's saying, evening buddy. Brian Schmidt's in from Irvine, California. Good evening to both of you folks. Mark Coley's in as well, saying not painting tonight, so you have my undivided attention. That makes two of us, mate. I'm not painting tonight, so you've got my undivided attention as well. Creme de la Chaos is in. He said he's just assembling his Vanguard Raptors for Warcry Stormcast. His first Stormcast non-ETB kit. ETB. I don't know if I'm easy to build. There you go. I do not get at all how to put those shoulders on properly. Seems so inaccurate. What I would say, I quite like the fact those shoulder things were separate, because I sprayed them white for mine, so it meant I could spray them with a white primer and get them nice and kind of crisp and then stick them on later on. But yeah, I think if you get used to, the only thing I don't like about the easy build ones is they always have kind of like a real, like a join down the middle of where the hammers and stuff are. I've never liked that, but yeah, I guess if you're used to building the kind of the push fit type ones, it might be a bit of a change for you, man. Steve saying, just lost you for a while. All right, that'll be explained why I was broken, mate. How's the Abyssals coming along, mate? Haven't seen any pictures on Facebook. To be honest, mate, I've hardly had any time to do anything, so they've not progressed much further. I'm looking at them now because they're on my desk. I will try and push them on and try and get them done. Juan's in as well, so he's not touching Beastgrave with a 10-foot pole. I jumped on Shadespire late and it felt too similar to Pay to Win. I guess it depends upon how you play it. If you're just playing it with a couple of mates, like I probably will, the competitive side's less important to me. If you're wanting to play this game competitively, you have to treat it like it's Magic the Gathering or kind of something along them lines. It's a card game and you're going to have to chase those cards. The best part of it, I guess, from that point of view, is the fact that at least you know where the cards are. You're not buying blind packs and stuff and kind of having to pop them all open. And from a buy-in point of view, yes, it can get expensive, but it's probably less expensive than a lot of other games. I think you maybe get like 8 warbands over a season. If 2 of them are in the starter set, then you're talking about maybe, I think it's about 20 quid for a warband with the cards. It's what you're talking, maybe 100, maybe £150 a season, which actually in the grand scheme of things against some other games isn't too bad. If you played Magic or something like that, you'd certainly be spending more money. But yeah, it ends up becoming a bit of a kind of a must have the latest warband to get the latest cards kind of thing if you're playing this competitively. Greg's saying, hey all, how's it going? He's currently in Spain with his girlfriend enjoying the sun. I am not jealous in the slightest, mate. Yes, I am. Enjoy your holiday, mate. Enjoy the break. Pete saying he's hoping for learn something about Beastgrave at the Weekender. I'm not. Will it be there? Will it be there? I'm assuming Element will have like a demo copy, so at the very least you'll be able to give it a try then, mate. I would imagine. Paul saying easy to learn, hard to master. Yeah, just play for fun, man. Just play for fun. Craig saying he's loving Aeronautica as well. Yeah, you've definitely been cranking out a couple of them videos. That Aeronautica map looked really nice, mate. Glenn saying, when I see the Underworld's board now, it looks so empty. I think Warcry spoiled it. I have to agree, mate, I'll be honest. I was watching some of the unboxing stuff, and if I do pick it up, I'm going to have to buy the kind of optional terrain stuff as well, just to make the board look a bit nicer. Mark saying, pick up Star Realms to play with Lou. Easy to play, quick game, very portable. I'll have to go looking for it, mate, and see more about it. Aggression's in as well. Hello, fella. Tony Howell's in as well. Christian saying that looks cool, playing the same 2 games as last time. Nice one, man. Mark was saying, I wish selfishly The Walking Dead was on day 1. Is that because it's clashing with Warcry, mate? Is it? Yeah, it was just the way it panned out, man. We had there's another reason as well. I didn't want to clash. That was it. We didn't want to clash Vanguard and Warcry on the same day, because they're both kind of fantasy skirmish games, really, and I think that was why we separated them out. Tony saying how his first game of Aristea probably didn't get everything right, and the wife kicked his butt. Likes the game, and great idea with the registration site. Yeah, it just gives us a chance to kind of, because what you don't want to do is turn up on the day, find out like one person wants to play an event or something like that, and then they're going to be a little bit disappointed, or one event has 16 people playing it, and we've got to suddenly at the last minute put loads of tables out. So yeah, we're just trying to balance things out a little bit this time. Sean saying likes the idea of the registration, makes it easier. 100% it does, mate. Yeah. Christian saying to Mark, well, that Warcry will be available as free player. To be honest, it doesn't matter what you want to play. Don't feel like you have to take part in an event if you don't want to. If you want to play a certain game, there'll be plenty of people who'll just do pickup games. If you want to play, say you want to play Warcry on the Sunday, but you still want to play Walking Dead, there's nothing stopping you playing Walking Dead Saturday night. There's nothing stopping you playing a Friday night and stuff. You can play, just pick up and play as many games as you want. There'll be loads of people there that'll play games with you. Paul saying he thinks the Underworld Warbands are great little cheapies projects. Yeah, I like the fact that they come out often enough to keep you interested, but there's not a new one every 2 weeks kind of thing that you can't keep up with it kind of thing. That's quite nice. Tony saying from a card game perspective, Underworld Beastgrave is pretty decent for the reasons you mentioned. The card games and deck building thing isn't my gig. I'm not a big fan of deck building, if I'm honest. It's an area I don't really kind of get a lot of enjoyment from, which is why I like the idea of almost just picking up a warband and playing the deck that's with it. It might be suboptimal, it might not be the best thing in the world, but if I can just pick that up and play with it, then I'm getting my fun out of it. I'll get the enjoyment from building and painting the warband, and then I'll just kind of play. It's very similar to what I've been doing really with Warcry. Really, I haven't been worrying about list building. I've just been using whatever kind of sort of whatever builds come in the box. Just build them, play them, and that's really given me just as much enjoyment as I would trying to kind of number crunch and kind of math hammer the whole thing. Optimus Prime is in as well. Says good morning, big fella. Good morning to you. Says good to see the beard on the way back. Yeah, that's kind of, I think this might be about as long as it gets for a while. I need to give it just kind of trim it to this length for a bit, I think. It's more just, what's this? Has this been a week now? Is that a week's worth of stubble? That's kind of what I grow in a week there. Paul's saying the same thing. The idea of deck building, do the absolute minimum. And Marco says he's more for deck unwrapping than building. I quite like kind of popping there, opening the blind packs and seeing what you get inside them, but it becomes a very expensive hobby that way. Just kind of takes me back to the Panini sticker books when I was a kid, I think. Craig saying, what's your thoughts on Judge Dredd with its imminent release? I'm a big fan of Judge Dredd, the kind of the universe, the 2000 AD universe around Judge Dredd. But my worry is The game's obviously coming out by Warlord Games. It's based upon a similar kind of idea as Strontium Dog, and I just feel like there wasn't enough support really for that particular game to make me want to kind of dive into it. I think it's a game I probably won't play very often. I think the player base for it will be hopefully bigger than Strontium Dog, but I think personally, unless I find somebody who really wants to play it, I'd probably struggle to get games in. So that's my only worry about it. It's nothing to do with the game, nothing to do with the miniatures. That I'm sure they're both fantastic, but for me personally, it's probably a limited experience through lack of interested parties. Like none of my sort of gaming circle of people are particularly interested in Judge Dredd, which kind of limits its appeal, I guess, for me. Mark was saying Marvel Legendary is cool though. Yeah, I quite like Marvel Legendary actually, but that's a different kind of deck building. That's like that's deck building without really you giving it much kind of choice. The deck builds itself, isn't it, as you go. When I'm thinking of deck building, I'm thinking of like sort of picking a, like Magic the Gathering, trying to kind of get the optimum, building a deck to win the game kind of thing. Dice Tales is in as well. Hello, buddy. How are you doing? And I noticed there's a few people chatting on there about Keyforge. So one thing I did want to show tonight, let me just get rid of that because that's just smart. I got an email really, really early this morning, about 1 a.m. this morning, from, let me just move my mouse, if I can find where it's gone on my screen. There it is. No, it's gone again. There it is. Yeah, from a guy called Ivan Acosta. And Ivan has sent me this email. Let me just flip across. And he's been creating a fan-made kind of campaign system for Warcry called Killing Grounds. You may have seen this today on, I think it was on the Warcry Facebook groups. And he's essentially taken what he thought was a very simplistic and quite sort of not very kind of heavy campaign system, and he's decided to add to it himself. Now, I'll preface this, I haven't read it in any detail yet. I haven't had time to read it with me being away with work today and stuff. So I can't comment on whether I think it's good, bad, indifferent, or anything like that. But I think it's interesting to see that people who maybe aren't getting what they want from Warcry are going that extra mile and creating something that might potentially sort of drag more people in to play the game. And he's gone into basically where there's something about quality of life where let me just see where we are. So we've got things about treasure tokens. He's got injury rules now. So rather than doing them in the aftermath sequence, they're carried out at the start rather than in the second step. He's got sort of glory points and things. And then he's gone through and he's got more about warband management, fighter advancement, additional territory rules, monsters and mercenaries, and skill tables as well. So this is about being able to kind of level up your fighters. And the guy's put a lot of work into this. Like I say, I have not read through it in any depth yet. I've not played it yet. But just to make you aware of it, really, there's a link to this document is in the Warcry Facebook pages. I'll put a link to it in my group as well. Now, if I remember on after this stream, I'll put a link to it in the description of this video as well. But it's just really interesting that people love the game enough to want to kind of to add to it with the bits that maybe they're not as keen on, and it's fan-made content that can sometimes drive the future. If you think about it, Sam Pearson, who actually worked on Warcry, joined GW from writing his own fan-made version of a Near West skirmish game. So this kind of thing has the potential to kind of shape the future of Warcry. So it'll be really interesting to spend a bit more time with it and understand exactly what he's done. But yeah, I just want to make you aware of it, really, for anybody that's into Warcry and maybe wants a slightly more meaty campaign system. There's now this fan-made version, which is called Killing Grounds. So yeah, watch out for that. Where are we at? Kirill's in as well. Good evening, Kirill. How are you doing, buddy? Paul saying he's seen 2 starter sets. What's this about? He's having a chat somewhere else. Glenn Griffin saying FFG have a new Marvel Living card game on the way. Yeah, that got announced at the same time as Crisis Protocol did, didn't it, as well? And I think that I was confused at first. I thought that FFG were bringing out Marvel Crisis Protocol, the miniatures game. But no, yeah, you're right. It's a different card game at the same time as well. And I wonder if that's part of sort of on the back of after they lost Netrunner back end of last year, early this year, I think, when Wizards of the Coast pulled the license back. I think this Marvel game is probably what ends up replacing that. Rui is in as well. Good evening to you, Rui. Carlos is in as well. Good evening to you, Carlos. A bit of chat. Craig says, did you make a video on Warcry tokens? I haven't yet, mate. I've still got to make it, to be honest. I've used the tokens in the games I've played, and I've absolutely loved them. I just haven't had 2 minutes to make a video on it at the minute. But yeah, I'll try and get that done this week. The tokens are fantastic. You can check them out for yourself. They're on the Etsy shop from Buy the Same Token. But yeah, I'll do a better, like a proper review of them and get some pictures up in the Facebook group and that as well. I'm just looking through this, trying to catch up with stuff. Dice Tales are saying I like creative fan stuff, even if I don't play them. Yeah, me too, mate. I think it's just really, really fun and interesting to see what people like to bring into the game, really. It also gives you an idea of what people think is missing, which is potentially could be something that GW listen to for the future of the game. So, you know, like this game isn't probably going to stay exactly the same for the next kind of 5 years, if you like. It will develop and it will grow. I think the fact that we've seen Monsters and Mercenaries coming in is kind of giving us some idea of what we probably like to see. And I think from a campaign side of thing or a narrative player experience, I don't see why more options isn't a good thing, really. If you want a much deeper, meatier campaign system, there's an option for you. If you want something quite light and fun, there's an option for you too. It's only when we start getting into the kind of the tournament play and the match play stuff, it starts to kind of confuse and muddy the water a little bit about what's kind of tournament legal. So I like as much option as possible when it's just narrative fun games, but I like a really kind of quick, neat, streamlined rule for match play stuff. Mark's in there, the guy on Board Game Geek made a fan-made adventures, then got employed by FFG. That kind of thing happens quite a lot. I mean, you'd be surprised that even the people that work for people like FFG and Games Workshop and Mantic and all of these different companies, Warlord and stuff, quite a lot of them have started off just as kind of really interested kind of fans. If you think even people like James Hewitt, who went on to work, started at Mantic, went on to work for Games Workshop, did games like Silver Tower and the rebooted Blood Bowl and rebooted Necromunda, made Go Chosen, went across to his own company, Needy Cat Games, and did things like Hellboy. He started just writing his own rules, basically, and applied quite a few times to get into Games Workshop. So a lot of these kind of sort of higher profile games designers, if you like, start off just with fan-made versions of things. So yeah, if you are ever interested in getting into game design, there's no better thing to do than design a game. Get it in front of people, get people trying it out. Tony says the boys are settled, he's just heading up to the big boys room. And Tom D says fan-made content can be great, it's keeping more time alive. To be fair, mate, it kept Blood Bowl going for a hell of a long time as well. Ben saying, I think I'll get Beastgrave. I like the way the new warbands are going to have 32 faction-specific cards, so you have a proper deck straight away. That was what I was trying to get my head around, mate. I thought that was the case, but I hadn't seen it sort of worded the way you've just worded it. That was what I hoped the other warbands would be like, so I could just buy a warband and play the game with what was in the box. You couldn't do that previously. That's one of the reasons I'm considering picking this up. Rui saying, are you excited about the Marvel Crisis Protocol game? I have really, really mixed feelings about this. And we got into a chat on the Facebook group the other day about this. And it was it didn't become kind of argumentative or anything like that, but there was two very polar kind of opposite, I think, ideas about this game. My personal opinion on it is the miniatures look beautiful. I absolutely love them. I'm a Marvel fan. You might not be able to see there, but I've got like sort of Thor and a load of like little pop vinyls and stuff up on my shelves and things. I love Marvel stuff. I am becoming a little bit burned out on it, I'll be honest, from a movie perspective. But from a Marvel kind of universe, I'm still a big fan of it. What puts me off is the scale of the miniatures is 40mm, I think it is. which means that all of the terrain and bits and pieces, all of the stuff I have for, say, Walking Dead, which is essentially kind of urban cityscapes, is going to look completely out of scale. It's completely the wrong scale. It's almost kind of 25% too small, if you like. So it means I'm going to have to buy a load of new scenery and terrain for it. It's a game that deserves to have really nice terrain because the miniatures deserve it. It's a skirmish game. The way the rules are written, you can kind of sort of smash things up. You can throw people off buildings. You can bounce things off buildings like Captain Marvel's shield. You can bounce it off a lamppost and bounce it into somebody. So it's begging for terrain to make the game look good. And there's a limited amount of terrain available for that, certainly at launch. The other side of it is, for me personally, I think it's very expensive. I think the starter box is retailing at £90. You can pick it up for like £65. Places like Element Games have got it pre-order for £65. And I think for a 2-player starter set with essentially about 8 or 10 miniatures in there, that's quite a lot of money. The individual miniatures as well that come out in the expansion packs are anywhere between about £20 and £30 in the UK. And that's quite a lot for a single miniature. Now, people have compared this to kind of like Games Workshop's kind of hero models, which are £25 and things like that. And I do get that. I completely agree. However, for me personally, I just think it will become very expensive very quickly. I can spend £30 on a warband for Warcry and gives me a whole new army to play the game with, or I can spend £30 on one character for Marvel. It's not really what I'm looking for at this point in time. I think if it had been a little bit cheaper, it might have tempted me. I'm also concerned, I think, that potentially people might be getting a little bit burned out on superhero stuff, and maybe this game could be a year or two too late. I think the license alone now is not just enough. If you look at Star Wars Legion, it didn't really catch on the way I think people expected it to. And I think there are a lot of choice out there. There's some fantastic games out there now. It's not an automatic or it's Marvel. I've got to have it type stuff. The other side of it is I have read the rules. The rules online are free, and the game seems pretty good. Just think it's maybe not for me personally. But if anybody else is kind of looking into it and they're big fans, I would not try and put anybody off. I just think for me, it's a little bit pricey, more than I would want to pay for a new game that isn't really proven yet. Who knows, 6 months down the line, if this is the biggest thing that people are playing, I might decide to dip in at that point. But yeah, I don't think I'm really prepared to take a chance on it just yet. Where are we at? Carlos the same would also like to know about the Warcry tokens. Yeah, I'll definitely get a video out at some point this week about the tokens. I spoke to the guys and I said I was kind of running a bit kind of tight on time to get the video done. And they said, sort of, don't worry about it. We're up to here with orders as it is anyway, without any kind of promoting. So yeah, there's been a bit of a delay on it, but I will get those tokens out on a video. Tiberius is in. Evening, buddy. Says anything that demands unique skill of terrain is out for me. Yeah, sadly, it was one of the kind of stumbling blocks for me, really. I mean, the miniatures are beautiful, and the game deserves to be played on a fantastic table. The same way Star Wars Legion does, the same way Batman Miniatures game deserves to be played on a beautiful looking table. I couldn't bring myself to just kind of play it on a really flat, sort of dull looking table, if you like. I think the battle system stuff would work perfectly with this. It's just the wrong scale at the minute, and that's sadly that's the stumbling block for me. Marco was saying, what terrain set would you recommend buying for Warcry? I only have the starter set. If you were going to buy one more, mate, I would potentially suggest the latest one that's just come out, which has a bit. It's the old Azerite Ruins ones. It's called Defiled City or something like that. Defiled Ruins. I think that one will mix in really nicely with the original starter set. I think there's some kind of height in that as well, so you can get up on the top of the buildings. It will add to it. I like the look of the Mausoleum set. I think it looks beautiful. It's more kind of blocking line of sight stuff as opposed to being able to climb on it and things. So I think mixed in with the core set, it works really well, but on its own, maybe doesn't play as well. I think the Shattered Storm Vault is the same again. It looks beautiful. I think you can get some interesting games on it, but the lack of height and multi-level, I think, suits certain warbands. So yeah, if you were only going to buy one more, mate, I'd potentially consider the latest one, the Defiled Ruins. Michael is saying a decision to put Marvel game at a unique scale will make or break this game. Yeah, I think part of it is they've decided to go with a bigger scale because, let's be frank, bigger models are going to really show off how good those sculpts are. They're going to look fantastic. And I think it might also mean that people are not using things like Hero Clicks models. They're not using the old Marvel miniatures that came out from Night models. Maybe it might be a licensing thing to say you have to bring them out at a certain scale so that they don't clash with other stuff that's available. Whatever the reason, it's a bold one because they are going. I know they're releasing their own terrain stuff as well, but I think that could get quite expensive quite quickly to buy that kind of stuff. Adam Edgar is in as well. Morning, buddy. How are you doing? Tony saying, Tony says, agreed. Never thought I'd say it, but I'm burned out on superheroes. Although Watchmen is in a different league. I think I'm kind of burned out on Marvel movies, I think. But randomly, I've just started watching Titans on Netflix, which is the DC kind of Teen Titans. It's the Netflix version of that, and I'm really enjoying that at the minute. But it feels like it's less about superheroes. The kind of a little bit like The Boys was. It was less about superheroes, and it was just a really good story that happened to have superheroes in it. I'm kind of getting a bit burned out of the over the top kind of action fights. I think, like a good example is I watched John Wick 3 this weekend, and me and my wife sat down to watch it. Both loved the first two John Wick films. The third one felt really light on story, but absolutely amazing action kind of fighting scenes, and it felt like it was just a film full of fighting, basically, which is never a bad thing. It was a popcorn kind of film, but the story was a bit light, and that, for me, that feels like that's where Marvel's got to. It's almost like they have to keep trying to outdo the last one with bigger special effects and bigger fight scenes and all of that kind of stuff. And I feel like it was just sort of too much too quickly, and I started to miss a few, and I've not really kind of watched them all, and I just felt a bit burned out by them. So for me, this Marvel game has come at a time where Marvel's, I could do with a bit of a break from Marvel stuff. That's what I mean about it. It's almost kind of 2 years too late for me, I think. Where are we at now? Tom D says, has anyone... Oh, sorry, Paul's saying, has anyone got a new Gaslands book? What's new about it? I'm not sure, mate. I've not seen anything about that yet. Tom D saying, has anyone seen the Warcry tournament tokens that come in the tournament kit? Are they nice? Yeah, they are nice, mate. I've seen a picture of them somewhere. I will... You are in the Facebook group, Tom, aren't you? I'll see if I can dig out that picture, and I'll put a picture in there for you. Tiberius is saying the problem with license is the cost them means the game and models are dear, and that means less attractive to buy on a whim. Let's be honest, it has to impact, doesn't it? If you've got a license to pay for, I'm sure it makes things a bit more expensive. However, maybe you save that money in marketing because they market themselves, because everybody's heard of it. Let's be honest, this is a brand new company. Yes, the people that have created the company used to work for Privateer Press, so they've got some kind of pedigree. However, the company itself's brand new. If they just brought out some sort of random non-IP game, would it have picked up as much kind of interest as it has done if it's Marvel? So maybe the fact that it's Marvel, the fact that they haven't got to come up with the background, the stories, maybe they've saved themselves some money elsewhere on marketing and kind of world creation. Who knows? I'm not that close to that kind of stuff. Where we at? Kirill. Oh, I've jumped around there. Daniel saying, good afternoon, Andy. How are you today? I'm very well, thanks, Daniel. And thank you for asking. And thank you for... it was you, wasn't it? That was in Tabletop Minions yesterday when we were chatting. Kirill says, I worked a lot last month, so not much hobby time. Painting these Napoleonics and looking at BlackJack as painting projects really motivates. Yeah, I do appreciate people sharing this stuff. It keeps people going, doesn't it? Marco says, thank you, I might pick it up at the Weekender. Can we use your affiliate link on the day? I think what you can do, mate, is you can order it through the website with my affiliate link and click to pick it up. And then you'll be able to do it that way. So I really do appreciate you purchasing it that way if you choose to do so. Thank you very much. But yeah, one of the options is collect from store. So you'll be able to put the order through and then just kind of and pick it up. That would be great. Where are they at? Tim is saying The Boys on Amazon is great. I loved The Boys. I've really enjoyed it. It's made me want to go and pick up the kind of the graphic novels on that one. Tiberius is saying the Dread minigame is coming back. Yes, it is, man. Daniel says The Boys is a good superhero show on Amazon if you like Watchmen. Yeah, it's definitely got that Watchmen vibe about it. I think it's written, but the graphic novel is written by the same guy who wrote Preacher. So if you like Preacher, you should enjoy this too as well. But it's got that kind of almost real world feel about it, as far as you can with superheroes in it, where it's like it's more grounded in the real world, and superheroes are a part of it, if you like, and in the same way they are kind of in the Watchmen. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. We've got Nurglin in as well. Good evening, buddy. How are you doing? Tiberius is saying I watched Dora the Explorer movie yesterday. I can't comment on that one, mate. Marco says Warcry rules question. Defiled ruins don't seem to have many platforms 1 by 1 inch. Can fighters jump on the walls? They can jump up and they can attack, but they'll fall back off them if they are not on what's classed as a platform, which is 1 inch by 1 inch. I think these work really well layering on top of some of the core set as well. 12 Nefa saying acrylic version of the punch outs. Yes, essentially they are the same, but they are acrylic versions. Harjinder saying Game of Thrones did the same. Focus on the action, not the story. The ending still hurts. Yeah, I kind of lost a little bit of interest with Game of Thrones, if I'm honest. I never did get through all seasons of that, and I did start recently to go back and look through it again. I just feel like the story is the bit I love the most, really. And the action. I love big action movies and stuff like that. It's great to go and watch at the cinema and stuff. But sometimes when that's all that it's about, when it's just an action film and there's no story to it, it can get a little bit like. Like there was, I think, perfect example is probably Batman versus Superman, kind of Justice League stuff. It was just action. It was just things being bashed off walls. And that really kind of hurt me. I'm more of a DC fan than I am Marvel. Batman was always my favourite. And so it's just a shame when the films become about loud explosions, if you like, rather than the actual story. Let's have a look. Timothy's working on some Tyranids for Kill Team. Really enjoying the Gene Stealers. They're older models, but they're still really nice, aren't they? Tiberius is saying GW with Lord of the Rings was about scale of production. The D'Agostini part work subsidized and proliferated it. Yeah, I think that's it was a good way to kind of get it out to people. But I think it also came at a time where Lord of the Rings profile was really, really high as well. Tim saying The Boys is superb read. As soon as it finished, I wanted to know more about the story, and that's what made me want to go and read the graphic novels. Where are we at? Daniel saying, "Yep, it was me. I thought it was you, mate. It was when it was just the one name, Daniel. I'm thinking, was it this Daniel or was it a Daniel somebody else? I thought it was. Nice to chat to you yesterday, mate." Marco was saying, "Don't forget to hit the like button." Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Where are we at? Paul says you watched the first 2 episodes of The Boys, not really that kind of thing, but really enjoying it so far. Yeah, I think if you're not a fan of superhero stuff, this is, for me, is almost, it's got that kind of almost political House of Cards kind of political background stuff. They just happen to be superheroes, that's all. Tiberius is saying Dora was awesome. I was getting paid by work to take someone. I believe you, mate. I'm sure you said it was your day off. Daniel's just finished his new Primaris Reaver Lieutenant. Now back to the Iron Golems. Rui's saying Arrow is his TV guilty pleasure. I love Arrow. Big fan of Arrow. Same with Flash as well. It's a bit cheesy, but really, really sort of fun TV if you like. Marco says he's just checked the Etsy site. Definitely looking to get some Shield Dagger Hammer tokens. Yeah, I'll get the video up this week. If anybody does buy the tokens on the back of my kind of video or anything like that, just let the guys know. It lets them know that it was worth kind of sending some out for review, really. Timothy's saying, do you have any gargantuans for monsters and mercs? I don't, mate, because as I mentioned earlier on, I don't know if you saw at the start of chat, I'm still waiting for my book. My book's basically been lost in the post, I think. I ordered the book and the Defiled Ruins terrain set, and neither of them have arrived yet. So I've had to kind of have a chat with the store and get them to send me another set out now. So yeah, I'm still waiting for them, mate. So I wanted to read the book and understand more about it before I bought anything, and I've not seen the book to read it yet. Tim's saying he watched Pikachu Detective with his lad. Not as bad as he thought it would be. Yeah. Devon Smithwick saying, he says, bought Aeronautica, been enjoying the game lots. They've been super fun and fast, and the hex-based system lends itself to some solid gameplay. Aeronautica is greater than Warcry. Interesting, mate. It's a game I would quite like to have a game of, because it does interest me. It was a game I wasn't sure I would get to play a lot of it. So I wasn't sure whether I'd get my money's worth of it, like, but I wouldn't mind giving it a try. It might be one of those games where I try and go, yeah, I love this, I'm going to have to pick it up. So who knows, maybe the weekend there might be the chance where I get to give it a go. Mark saying the Dark Crystal Netflix series is fantastic. Yeah, somebody mentioned that, I think, last live stream as well, or one of my painting live streams. I've not watched that yet. Peter's saying, just to see all these skellies have their primer covered by another colour. Happy days. Is that progress for you, mate? Are you getting on there? Dice Tale says, would love a Geflin Mini. Have you seen the board game Dark Crystal by River Horse Games? There's minis in there, mate, and they're really, really nice. They're a nice big scale as well. Mark says, have you opened your Batman game yet? Mine has a lot of dust on it now. Yes, I've opened it, mate. I've painted a couple of miniatures and I've put it away again. I'm really kind of starting to get turned off Kickstarter now, if I'm honest. And this might be a video kind of, or a topic for a Monday night live stream at some point. I'm starting to realise that the hype of Kickstarters in general leads me to end up with a lot of stuff that I probably never play, or I'll not get my money's worth out of it. So I specifically, when Hellboy came to Kickstarter, I'd played the game in kind of play testing, and I was part of the play test groups, and I had a chance to play it with James as well beforehand. So I knew I was going to enjoy the game, but I intentionally didn't buy any of the expansions because I knew there'd be more than enough stuff in that starter box that I would probably I'd never see it all. I'd never get to play it all. And that's essentially what's happened. If I think about the Batman stuff, I've tried to play one game of it. I love Batman anyway, so I don't regret buying it, but it's a lot of money for essentially some miniatures that'll probably not get much table time. All the Joan of Arc stuff that come in, as I mentioned before, I was fortunate to be sent that stuff by Mythic, but it is basically it was overwhelming really how much stuff's there, and it's kind of almost put me off trying to play the game. I have played a few games of it, and it is a very good game, but there's just too much there. I'll never get to use it all. So Kickstarters for me feels like it's forcing me to buy a lot of stuff that might never see the light of day. I'm starting to think now I'd rather wait for retail and just buy the core set. If I'm still that interested in it, just buy the core set. There's very few games that I play exclusively where I would get my money's worth out of all the expansions that come with the Kickstarter. So yeah, you might get really, really good value for money, but I'm still spending more money really than gameplay experience I'll get out of it. So yeah, I'm getting a bit twitchy with stuff like Kickstarter. Super Fantasy Brawl is probably the exception. I am, because of the kind of game it is. Again, I played a ton of that game before the Kickstarter went live. I'm really, really looking forward to that coming. And the way I can switch out the different minis to make up the different kind of battle groups, I don't feel like I've kind of overspent on that one. However, when it comes to board games or games with lots of expansions, extra kind of missions, extra ways to play the game, I think I'm just probably spending money on stuff that will never get used, sadly. Tiberius saying Black Lightning was great. Yeah, I started watching that, mate. I quite enjoyed it. Christian saying that Batwoman starts in October. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that, mate. That looks like it could be another good DC show. Tiberius is saying Detective Pikachu, the Citizen Kane of our generation. I'll reserve judgment till I've seen it, mate. Paul saying, has anyone seen Black Summer? I've not even heard of it, mate. Never mind seeing it. Marco saying the Kickstarter bubble is about to burst. It's interesting because I read this thing the other day about there is no such thing as a board game bubble because a bubble is something kind of terminology slightly different. However, Kickstarter will continue as long as people get caught up in that hype and the idea of having exclusive stuff that nobody else can have and getting caught up in that kind of, oh, what's getting unlocked this week, what's getting unlocked today. As long as people want to spend money, Kickstarter will stay around. For me personally, I'm getting to a point now where I see shops selling stuff that was at Kickstarter because they buy their retail editions and then they sell it with like 30% off or something like that. So I see those kind of things now, and I'm thinking, did I really do myself any favors by shelling out all that money so far in advance and getting a load of stuff that I'll probably never play? So I'm having a bit of a break from Kickstarter, I think, just to give myself some space to really kind of see, am I really missing out on anything? Or am I just buying stuff that's gathering dust? Tyrese says he doesn't do Kickstarter. Mark says, totally agree. Super Fantasy Brawl is my one and only Kickstarter this year. So much content equals no play. Yeah, it's the only thing that I'm waiting for at the minute, mate, as well. It's Super Fantasy Brawl. I backed up myself. I spent my own money on it. And I'm looking forward to it coming, but I haven't even looked on Kickstarter recently. That's kind of how I am at the minute with that stuff. Tom D says, were you disappointed of how little was addressed in Warcry? The updated cover rule was great though. I didn't think there was a lot needed addressing in Warcry, if I'm honest, mate. I think I was pretty was I impressed with the cover rule? I think it's good they addressed it. It obviously wasn't quite what they wanted it to be, although I did think it was really cleanly written, which I think is kind of was a good thing. But I like the way they've cleared it up now. It's much more real world now, if you like, and it's much cleaner, or it's much clearer, I should say. I didn't really like what they did with rounding up the height of terrain. I feel like that will lead to more problems down the line at some point, and probably more arguments or more discussions about it. I'd rather that was just left up to people to rule it how they wanted on the day. If they say, look, it's very obviously meant to be 3 inches, it's 3 inches up. I'd rather that was what they said, rather than this kind of, it's weird, like let's round it up to the nearest inch. You never round down. I wasn't too keen on that, but I don't think they missed too much, mate. I think the stuff that people are saying that they missed, again, it's just people not agreeing with the way things are written, I think. Christian saying next month's both Joan of Arc relaunch, he wants a dragon, and Burrows and Badgers Wave 2. Yeah, October the 1st, I think it is the 1.5 version of Joan of Arc. So yeah, watch out for that one if you do want to back Kickstarters. By all means, keep an eye out for that one. And if anybody playing Warcry, there's some fantastic monsters in there for it. Steve saying for Kickstarter, if I'm interested, I normally go in at a low level and then go for add-ons later. It's interesting, Steve, because some Kickstarters are starting to try and not stop you doing that. You can still do it, but what they're starting to do is they're starting to say things like these exclusives are only available for backers who back it at the full price before the Kickstarter ends and not available as part of the pledge manager down the line. I've seen a few like that recently. So yeah, for me, if I like the game enough, I'll just back it. I won't go in at £1 and then decide later. I'll just back it because I'd rather decide I want to back it and back it than kind of just start spending the dollar here and there and not doing it. So it's more about the amount of stuff you get. I end up spending more money to get way too much stuff that I'll probably never use. And then what happens is the market gets full of people who bought into Kickstarter to shift them on at a higher price, or to try and make some money out of them. So it's not even like you can kind of sell the stuff you bought, really, because there's just so much of it out there. Joan of Arc stuff, for example, the market's flooded with people trying to sell that kind of stuff. Chris Idden is in as well. Hello, buddy. How are you doing? Tiberius is saying he's still collecting The Walking Dead just because I enjoy painting it. Yeah, it's those kind of stuff's a bit different, mate, I think. It is nice to kind of just pick those little bits up, but I think that that's a kind of game where the pressure's off, really. If you play that game solo as well, you buy it at your own pace. But it is an example of, I backed it and got like kind of all those extra waves and stuff, and there's some of the stuff there that I've never even touched, even after all this time, just because I just got so much in one big kind of lump. It was just too much stuff to absorb and to take in. Almost scares you off a bit at times. It's Big Ian's in. Hello, buddy. How are you doing? Mark Wassini agrees, buying expansions even before playing the core box is crazy. I love Hellboy. So glad to get some extra content, and I'll get an expansion for this war of mine. Yeah, I have honestly got no intention of buying any of the expansions for Hellboy. Not because I think they're bad or because they're bad, sort of not value anything. I haven't played everything I've got. So just sort of like diving in and buying more just doesn't appeal to me at the minute. Ben saying your posty's still off with a bad back from your Joan of Arc. That's probably why I've not seen the Warcry stuff, mate. Definitely. James Mason's in, says hi from Tasmania. Hello, buddy. How are you doing? Tiberius is saying he's too skint to justify spending money on stuff I won't see in 6 months. It's not even the waiting that annoys me. It's just the fact that when it all comes, it's just too much stuff all in one kind of slog. So I'd rather spend £50-60 on like a starter box for Warcry, for example. I think what did I pay for it? Like 70 quid or something like that with discount. I'd rather spend that and enjoy that that starter box and play through that than get something like the Batman game, which just came with hundreds of miniatures and kind of just way too much to get my head around. I also worry as well that those kind of games come with so much stuff, and the rules tend to need a bit of an overhaul as soon as it's been released. I mean, look at what happened with Batman. The amount of times they had to kind of redo their videos, the how to play videos and stuff like that. It feels like there's a lot of mistakes can come through in Kickstarters that actually it takes a bit of time to put them right. And sometimes Kickstarters need a second version even just to put them right. So yeah, I'm getting a bit like that with Kickstarters now, if I'm honest. Bit of chat there about Tasmania there as well. Seems it would be cool to visit. Taipei was just seeing a nice cool glass of OJ. I've got water tonight, mate. It's a bit warm in here, to be fair. Taipei just, it was a Taz reference. Went over my head, mate, I'll be honest. Peter saying, this painting larks maybe forget to get snacks. Bit of chat backwards and forwards. Right, basically saying if you don't want it, you could donate it. To be honest, mate, I'm going to have to sell some stuff off at some point. It's disgraceful, really. It's the amount of stuff that just doesn't get played. Better off going to somebody who is going to play it. Paul saying, just a heads up, macaroni cheese with butternut squash is not a good idea. Doesn't sound it, mate, if I'm honest. Tony saying, back to painting his Iron Warriors. Got not many painting opportunities this week, so he's enjoying it. Loving the pics of burrows and badges his friends been posting as well. Yeah, he's been doing some grand stuff with that, hasn't he? Kickstarter mistakes like Harry Potter. That is a prime example, mate, where like if I think about the stuff that I've backed with my own money, so Resident Evil 2, great game, board quality left a lot to be desired, and didn't sour my feelings about the game, but I wasn't as impressed with the boards as I would have liked to be when it arrived. A Harry Potter game I never backed, but the fact that they've had to re-release a 1.5 version, a kind of a second edition, whatever they've decided to call it, just shows that these things kind of, it's almost like the money is there, the game's being funded, we can now just go away, make the game and ship it out, and 10,000 people get the game, and if they're not happy with it, it's a bit late to do anything about it really, isn't it? We'll improve it for the next one. Or if there's any mistakes in the rule book, we'll improve it for the next one. When a game launches straight to retail, very quickly those reviews go out and people kind of go, oh, hang on, I'm not buying this. It's not what, quality's not very good, the sculpts are not great, or they're a bit brittle, or whatever it is. So Kickstarter sometimes can feel like a bit of an excuse for, like, and I'm not saying companies do this on purpose, but like kind of almost poor quality gets through because they're under pressure. There's a deadline. It's, you know, things are running over. They've got to hit these deadlines. They've got to get them out. They've got to make so many copies of them. They just rush them all out, kind of thing. And it feels like sometimes the time constraints that Kickstarter puts on games sometimes leads things to coming out before they're ready. And this is not the case for every Kickstarter. The Walking Dead is a prime example of a Kickstarter that came out and was great right out of the box. I didn't have any issues with it. There's just some other ones where I think basically there's, I think Hellboy's another example. Hellboy was another game that came out and everything was great. The miniatures looked great. The quality of the boards was great. I was really happy with the content. Just think there's been other ones that maybe are a bit lacking really and maybe needed a little bit more time spent on them. Where's this? Where's it? Costas is in. He says, hello from Greece, brother. Will you be covering Beastgrave like you did with Warcry? Yeah, I think I will, mate. I've not pre-ordered it yet, but I plan to pick it up. And yeah, I'll probably do some coverage with it, mate. Chris is saying Taz reference. Flymal is saying Burrows and Badgers. I'm not sure what that is in reference to. Daniel said he's just started adding in the cost of battle foam for storing minis to decide if I want a new set of minis. It's something I used to spend quite a bit of money on battle foam bags and stuff, and then I've kind of over time I've pulled back on it now. But I used to be doing a lot of traveling to tournaments and things like that, so it was worthwhile for me back then. I have paid the extra for the what's it called, the Feldherr case for Super Fantasy Brawl. But when that arrives, I thought it'd be quite nice to have something ready out of the box because it's something I do intend to kind of travel around with a bit, and it'd be nice to have somewhere to kind of keep that nice and safe. But yeah, sort of, I did see the case for the new Beastgrave game, and that looks pretty cool. Being able to put your cards in it, somewhere to store your tokens and things. That's the kind of thing I like. I like those little bits of kind of added extra stuff. Marco saying Simon's going to launch a campaign where you can buy previous Kickstarters, emptying excess stock. That's a bit weird, that, isn't it? Because surely that's the whole point of retail sales. Kind of that kind of stuff puts me off. Steve saying most Kickstarters he backs are miniatures based, not game based, because I know I like to paint. And to be honest, if you feel you get your money's worth out of it, it's not a problem. If you want to pay 150 quid and get 300 minis, it's fantastic value, really. I mean, I'm not knocking that. But if you're buying it to game, sometimes there's just way too much to get your head around. And I think sometimes it's like all these expansions come out before the game's really been heavily play tested. Like if for example, let me think of an example, a game that came up much later. If you look at some of the Zombicide games, as good as the first one is, each subsequent version improved on it. If all of those expansions kind of came out in that base game, it had just ended up being all have the same issues, if you like. Mark saying technically Harry Potter never made it to Kickstarter. You're right, mate, it didn't, but everybody paid for it before they'd done any production on it, that's for sure. Daniel saying a good license doesn't make a good game. Exactly, mate, exactly. Flying Mama saying, I wish Harry Potter had gone Kickstarter, wouldn't have wasted £100. Yeah, I think a few people got their fingers burned on that one. Paul says, I preferred Kickstart TV program. Oh, you're bringing back some memories there, mate. I remember watching that on TV, Kickstart. I'm even kind of humming the tune in my head now as well while you're on. It makes me love Trials, the Xbox game, that TV show. Tiberius says, if you want to see a crowdfunder shit show, you go read up on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum Vega. Yes, I remember hearing about that one. The other one as well is quite recently was the Evil Dead game, which had a bit of a nightmare as well. And somebody's coming back to pick that one up now. Mark was saying Hellboy Kickstarter edition is selling for peanuts on eBay. This is what I mean, mate. This is what kind of puts me off now. Is that actually if you end up with a load of stock, then you know they get heavily discounted. I mean, if you look at things like Star Saga, for example, and I'm not knocking the game itself, but every time I go to a show, it's selling for £25 at on Troll Trader. Like, I'd be a bit miffed if I'd spend kind of like £90 or £100 on that as a Kickstarter. Jester's 3D tabletops in. So far, only thing I've backed was the better back. Sadly, it was great for the back, not so good for the knees. Where we at? Paul saying he needs something new for his minis to travel with. Only got a small Warhammer foam case and homemade one. The other thing to do, mate, is Mark was just saying there, magnetizing them. It depends what you want to do. If you just put magnets on the bottom and use like a baking tray, put that inside one of those kind of like really useful plastic boxes, that can be good enough for just traveling around with them. And they certainly don't get scratched like that because they're not touching anything else. They're not touching any foam or anything. But if you want something like that, you can kind of chuck in an overhead, kind of on a locker on a plane or something like that. You're going to need some decent foam, really. Skull Munch, Evil Dead had a nightmare. Very good. Yeah. I think the problem was, I think the company paid the money to get the expansions made and then ran out of cash and didn't have any money left for the actual main game. So they got repossessed because the company basically owed a load of people money. And when the stuff got repossessed from kind of like warehouses and stuff, they just had a load of the expansion stuff, a load of the add-ons, and didn't actually have any of the main game made. Paul says, I keep debating getting that Trials Rising game on the Switch. Trials, I've not played the Rising one, which is the latest one, but the original one was awesome. And everybody's talking about magnets there as well. Chris said he only ever backed Rumorg. It was okay, but put him off. I'd have gone all in for Shadows of Brimstone original, but missed it. The trouble is all the exclusive, it puts me off at retail. So, this is another thing. So that's what sucks people into Kickstarter, is all the exclusive stuff. However, is it really that important? Do you really, really feel like you're missing out because there's a certain sculpt that you didn't get? I mean, most games don't put exclusive stuff that's kind of game breaking, if you like. They might have an alternative sculpt, or they might have a unique scenario or something like that. But at the end of the day, is it really that important? If you absolutely love that that exclusive, I'm sure you'd be able to probably pick it up on eBay or something. There's plenty of people sell that stuff. Exclusive content is starting to wear a bit thin on me now, I'll be honest. I feel like it's almost had its day, really, of like, it's not a reason for me to back it on Kickstarter anymore now. The only reason I'll back something on Kickstarter now is if I really want to buy the game, really, and I think it's something that's worth the money. Like Super Fantasy Brawl for me was a perfect example of, there was nothing really kind of flash in that. There was nothing really kind of exclusive that I couldn't have waited and gotten from retail, really. However, by the time I buy it at retail, I'll still be saving some money for what I paid in the Kickstarter. That's the way I kind of see that one. But the stuff where you're getting like 3, 4, 5 expansions and exclusive this and exclusive that, I'll never get to play all that stuff. So yeah, so I'm kind of steaming clear of Kickstarter at the minute. Where are we at here? Paul saying he's normally traveling around with about 30 minis, the 3 Underworld war bands and whatever he's painting. You can get some really nice, like little. Have you looked at the what they called? Is it KS multi-case stuff? The ones that are like in a cardboard box with the foam. That's probably like a relatively inexpensive option for carrying that like sort of number of miniatures around. Mark saying, hasn't Evil Dead come back on Kickstarter now? Yeah, it has, mate. Somebody's brought it back to Kickstarter. They've bought the license now, or they've bought the kind of the game, and they've brought it back to Kickstarter. And what they're saying that is they're they've got like pledge levels now that when they reach a certain pledge level, they will send a version of the game to somebody that kickstarted it the first time. They're trying to create a community thing around it. It all just feels a bit messy for me, mate. It's one of them games now where I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. And if I really wanted it, I'll wait until it hits retail. And like, I'd be way too kind of worried about just seeing my money disappear. I've been really lucky. All the things I've backed have been kind of big company sort of Mantic stuff, Steamforge stuff, Mythic Games stuff, Monolith, sort of decent sized companies with a bit of a track record. I'd be a bit nervous about backing kind of first time stuff these days, I think. Where are we at? Tiberius saying Walking Dead has the Ronnie zombie. I'd like that one, but it's not that important. Yeah, I've got it, mate, and it's just another zombie. I'm not that kind of like. It's a nice to have thing, but yeah, it's not the end of the world kind of thing. Chris is saying I agree. I think it makes potential audience back off. Yeah, 100%, mate. Where we are. Flymore says Munch, you've been way too low. Christian says KR multi-case. Yeah, that's the one. I couldn't remember the name. It definitely, yeah. The Kaiser Rushworth. Brendan Bates. Good evening to you, buddy. Yeah, getting the name right for me, mate. They basically do some really nice kind of soft blue foam, and you can get them in cardboard boxes. I think they do some harder cases as well, and they're kind of good because they can just kind of stack on the shelves. Really, that you don't spend a fortune on them, but if you're just kind of carrying them around and like sort of traveling in a car kind of thing, they are more than good enough. Really, really good stuff. Pausing. KR is very similar to kind of to Feldherr. Feldherr is a German company, and they're quite expensive to ship into the UK. I've got a Feldherr case for my Star Wars Destiny stuff. Yeah, right the first time, and it's really, really good quality. But they're not that cheap in the UK. KR Multicase are in the UK, and they tend to be at all the big events and stuff as well. So you tend to get some really good prices. Battleform, I've got a few Battleform bags. Quality's fantastic. Bags have always stood up to it. Just a bit more expensive again as well. So it's kind of horses for courses, really. My Battleform stuff, I'd quite happily kind of throw into an overhead locker on a plane and not worry too much about what happens to the stuff inside there. Some of the KR multi-case stuff would have been a cardboard box. You know, if it gets a bit wet or something like that, I'd be a bit more kind of I'd be a bit more careful with it. But yeah, I mean I've got. Yeah, I'm not going to bring it over and show you. But yeah, I've got some Battleform stuff over there. Hodginder saying Feldherr foam cases are pretty decent. Yeah, they definitely are, mate. It's Feldherr stuff that I'm getting for my Super Fantasy Brawl. Tiberius is saying about the KR multi-case, the cardboard refills plus the metal case, and you're sorted. Yeah, so that essentially you can kind of like, you can almost store them in the cardboard cases, and then you can get like one hard case if you like, and just kind of switch them out as you go when you need them. And Tiberius is saying you can buy the foam refills. Yeah. Marco's saying he got a Feldherr case since he often travels to Germany. Yeah, they are nice, mate. They are nice. Peter's saying what would be a fair price for Hellboy on eBay. I guess it depends, mate. If it's the retail version, it retails full price, or I think it's like £75. 20% discount on that. What's that going to be? About 15 quid off it, so 60 quid's 20% discount, which you probably get on most online stores. Anything less than 60 quid's probably a good price for the retail version. For the Kickstarter one, you're probably talking. I'm not even sure how much it went for. Was it about 100 quid? You're probably talking in the region of about 80 quid with 20% discount. You're getting that less than £70. You're probably not getting a bad deal, assuming that you want all that stuff, of course. Paulson, the only really knows of Battleform. Battleform are really, really good, mate, but they're a bit more high end. Really, they're a bit more expensive, and more because their cases are really, really good quality. The foam's good. The foam's solid. They do a lot of custom stuff as well, but the cases are really, really good quality. It just depends on what you want. You can get cheaper options if you're not doing a lot of travel. Like if they're not going to get thrown around kind of stuff. They do some cheaper options from other companies. Hodginder's saying, fell there, stuck by UK suppliers now, Amazon and I think Element Games. Yeah, I bought my Star Wars Destiny one from a local store that sort of sold Destiny cards and stuff. But if you want to buy anything online, they're quite expensive to bring in. If you can get them locally, great. Daniel said he's picked up the one for Blackstone Fortress. Tiberius is saying, Kia used to have a video of them throwing army cases out the back of a speeding Land Rover. I think Battleform used to do something similar as well, kind of like hitting them with cars and stuff. Richard Cartwright, good evening, Richard. How are you doing? He says he asked this last time, but worded it poorly. What I wanted to ask is, will Games Workshop hold back the last 2 Warcry warbands for a starter set when the original sells out? I obviously don't know for certain, mate. I'm not any kind of insider, but my gut feeling is no. I think those 2 warbands will come out in the next couple of months. They're in the kind of core book. They're mentioned in the book. I would imagine they'll probably be the next 2 warbands to come out. I don't see them doing a new starter set for Warcry, if I'm honest. I don't think there's any real need to do it. If they really need to, they could always kind of reprint it, the one they've got, if they find space on the production lines, if it sells out. But I think in much the same way of Kill Team, there's enough stuff available that you can just go out and buy it and get started, really. So I think those 2 warbands will be out. It wouldn't surprise me if they're out by the end of this year. So yeah, I wouldn't expect them to be hanging on to that at all. Richard's in as well. Hello, buddy. Saying I feel the same way with Kickstarter. I got boxes of Unarmed and games. Bought Warcry starter box that was perfect size to keep my interest. Built everything. Yeah, I think just doing them at just little steps, really. Like, I bought quite big into Warcry and I bought all the expansion. I've bought all the different warbands and stuff, but I've never felt swamped by it. I bought that core set, I built it all, I painted it all, I painted the 2 warbands. I've been playing that game while I was painting up subsequent warbands. I then started to play with those ones while I was building and painting more. I never felt like the game was just kind of where there was too much stuff and I felt swamped and overwhelmed by it all. There's a lot of kind of board game stuff where I've backed it on Kickstarter and I've just got boxes and boxes of things and it's like, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start with it. Where we at? Carlos is saying he received 3 Monstrum boxes from Kickstarter Deep Madness. I've never heard of Monstrum, mate. Richard says, having a select amount of paint actually makes me paint it all. Kickstarter for me is virtually stopped. And great point about Star Saga. 20 quid at last salute. That's what I mean. I'm not saying it's a bad game by any stretch. It's a great game. But I would feel gutted if I'd spent kind of £120, £150 for all this kind of stuff that I might never have got to play with because I just never get the game to the table often enough. Before I've even probably painted the core set and played many games with it, I could have picked it up for 20 quid at some trade show thing. That's the kind of thing that sticks in my throat a bit. Daniel's saying, Tom's saying that Daniel picked it up for Silver Tower. Next will be Space Hulk 4th edition. I must have missed what that one was about now. Daniel says he's got a battle foam bag for home storage. They're trays in the large plastic bins. And Mark was saying, don't bother with Hellboy retail. It's very little content. The Kickstarter version on eBay, you can find it for £60 to £80. Yeah, that's where I think for 60 to 80. See, 60 to £80 kind of makes me think I should have just waited. I feel disappointed now. I've hardly played any games of it because I just don't get it to the table very often. I could have just waited, and that's where I'm getting to now with Kickstarter. It's not the value that it used to be, I don't think, because what happens is loads of people buy it to sell it on later because they think they're going to make a killing on it, and then the market's flooded with them, so the price has to come down. And stores have bought loads of copies because they're trying to get it at a cheap rate. It just ends up where there's just loads of it available, sadly. Brian Mammal says, Night, thanks for the night. Thank you for dropping in, Ruth. Nice to see you. Usually saying, I was thinking of buying a kind of expanding foam and trying to make some sort of protective travel case. Yeah, I think it's probably more trouble than it's worth, to be honest, mate. Mark was saying, why do you go to bed so early? The only flying mammal I know are bats. Daniel says, any plans to come to the US for any cons? I have got no concrete plans at the minute, Daniel. I would love to come to the US. I'm a big fan of kind of going to the US for holidays anyway. I've travelled to lots of different places in the States, and I really do like the place. And I would love to come for a convention at some point. I'd love to go to the Las Vegas Open. I'd love to go to Adepticon. I'd love to come over to Nova Open. Those kind of events really do interest me. But as I mentioned earlier, I think somebody asking if I was coming to Adepticon. I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't even know where to start with booking hotels or when they become available. If I can't get a hotel at the convention center, how far are things away? How do you get there? Do I hire a car and drive in? Is there somewhere to park? It feels like there's so many questions I've got about these kind of big cons abroad. I wouldn't even know where to start, but I'll definitely get there at some point. I would love to come over. Ruby saying Warcry doesn't need a new starter set, but Necromunda does. One with the new rulebook. I'm still a little, well, it doesn't bother me personally, but I'm still a bit surprised that that rulebook that comes in the core set, the starter set, is still the old one. I'm really surprised they're getting away with still selling that. It's a bit of a sickener, that really. I'd be gutted if I bought that starter set now. I mean, I do have it. It's there behind me. But I'd be gutted if I bought it now and I found out that there was a newer rulebook and I had to go out and buy that rulebook on top. Yeah, I'd be a bit disappointed, I think. Paul saying he worries when games are too cheap. To be honest, it makes me think they're failing. The other side, you shouldn't worry about a game failing though, because at the end of the day, how often are you going to play it, and where are you going to play it? So a prime example is if you only play your games at home with your better half. What does it matter how they're doing in the market? What does it matter if they're being sold cheap? If you're still getting fun out of that game and you're getting a good play experience, why not pick up a bargain? Even if you only pick it up just to paint the miniatures, or you use the miniatures to play a different game. Like just accept it's a bargain. I think things like what was the game that Rune Wars not too long ago was selling really cheap everywhere. People were trying to kind of like shift that out. People had stock of it. The game wasn't really being played. Fantasy Flight games weren't supported anymore. But you know what it is? If you wanted to pick it up just to play it, or you wanted to use their miniatures for something else, why not? I think there's some misconceptions that because something's cheap means it's not very good. And invariably in kind of tabletop gaming, what tends to happen is things get reduced because there's just high stocks of it. So maybe the company overestimated how many stuff to make. Maybe the store that's selling them bought too many copies. Whatever it is, but don't always be put off by cheap prices. And don't be put off, even if a game is discontinued and it's not being supported anymore. It doesn't mean that it's not a good game, and it doesn't mean you're not getting a bargain. Tiberius has seen he paid full retail for No Man's Sky. I know that feeling. Yes, mate. Paul says, I think people already have their Adepticon hotels. Yeah, that was it, mate. I mean, literally they have a date where the hotels go for sale and then they sell out. That's what I mean about I don't understand it enough to know exactly what I'm doing, whether I'm buying it, getting a hotel room in the right place or any of that kind of stuff. I need to do a lot more research or have somebody who can advise me anyway. Daniel says, if you travel to the northeast, look me up for a pint. I would love to, mate. If I'm traveling to the States at any point, I will definitely mention it. Claudio's saying with Kickstarter for him, it's just the thing, making the game possible at all. As a Mantic fan, I want to see that game developed. If that means I have to get to Kickstarter, so be it. I get that, mate. I do get that. However, it's kind of catch-22 for me now, because how can I put this? What happens is it's the same people end up funding all of these games to help out these companies, isn't it? And if it's a new company starting up, trying to kind of make a mark, and they've done all the right things and they've built up a community and people want to support them, great. I really do understand it. However, there does come a point where it just becomes people just rely on the communities to do all the work for them, and we'll just put this out there and then it'll sell. But I'm starting to look at it differently now. I think it's just because because I've seen it from both sides. I've seen companies, and I've sat and chatted with the people in these companies who use Kickstarter in order to get these things to market. And if it wasn't for Kickstarter, they wouldn't get these games out. They don't have the money to spend launching them. But then I've also seen it from a purchaser point of view, where I've spent my money to fund that game, and before it's even arrived at my house, there's a store selling it with 20% discount. There's stores selling it after backing the Kickstarter, and they've had their retail versions shipped to them first, and they're at retail in a store for less money than I paid to back that game. And that's what sticks in my throat now. That's the kind of stuff that puts me off backing Kickstarters. Because why should I do it? Why should you do it? I know that's not the case with every company, but there's been enough examples of that. And if I'm honest, Hellboy was the last one that it happened to me. Mantic Games held back on shipping out the Hellboy Kickstarters to UK backers because of the Brexit stuff. It went out to people in Europe and stuff first. Before I got my copy, Element Games had it on their shelf with 20% off, or less than I paid for it at Kickstarter. It just puts me off. It just puts me off, mate. Claudio's saying there, he had Star Saga over Christmas last year at the mother's place from girlfriend. Played it through and it was real fun. It's a good game and you can use it in Dead Zone. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a great game, mate. It's just the fact that it's like you can buy it for 20 quid now. I'd be gutted if I'd spend kind of over 100 quid on it at Kickstarter. Daniel saying he's got a family outside of DC, so we'll be staying there for Nova. Oh, Nova opens good timing as well for me, because the Adepticon clashes with my wife's birthday and our wedding anniversary, so we could maybe come out as a family and have a bit of a holiday around Adepticon, but then it takes a lot of planning with the little one and stuff, where Nova doesn't really clash with anything for me. What was in there to Claudio, I see your point, however, established publisher can easily fund via other financial routes. Yeah, I don't disagree, mate. I don't disagree. Paul says, I'm staying at the Plaza Hotel for Adepticon. Ask for Frank White. John says, oh, first of all, good evening, John. Thanks for coming in. He says, hi from Glasgow. As far as Kickstarter goes, I wouldn't back a game to sell on. You just won't make your money back. But if I like the license, I would, as it's a must-have. So there's a couple of things in there, mate. One is I think the days of making money on Kickstarter games are long gone, as I mentioned. So I wouldn't buy something to sell on now. I think that's a bit of a fool's errand. The other side of it is if I like the license or whatever and it's a must-have, I think now I'll just wait for retail. There's no point in me shelling out money 18 months ahead of time, only to realise by the time it arrives I could have bought it cheaper there and then and had that money tied up all that time. So that's why I'll kind of wait for something. The reason I backed Batman is because it was never going to be sold at retail. So I decided I'll buy this because I like Batman as a universe, as a license. The miniatures look fantastic. I'll back Batman because it's never going to be available again. And then what happened when it arrived inside the box for Batman was the leaflet for Batman sort of second Kickstarter. And it's like, I thought this was never going to be available again. I thought you wouldn't be able to buy this anymore. So there's more and more of these things now that start to kind of like stick with me, where I just think it's just not worth it anymore. I'd rather wait. So at some point I'll be able to pick it up second hand off somebody who's done exactly what I've just done and now wants to shift it on and make back what they can, basically. Where's this? Mark was saying to John there, he agrees. Shipping costs are also soaring. Shipping costs are an interesting one because I don't know whether everyone's aware of this. If you include the price of shipping in the Kickstarter, the company will pay the Kickstarter fees on the shipping. If you put the price of shipping on as part of the pledge manager, the company gets all of that money for shipping. So I'm not suggesting for 1 second that companies are falsifying shipping costs to make more money. I am not saying that at all. However, I think depending upon how the company you buy from ships your products, there may be some hidden charges dotted about. So for example, Mantic with Hellboy had all of that product shipped to the UK and then they shipped it out to individual places. So because Mantic is shipping my Hellboy copy, which was a really heavy box, because they were shipping that from Nottingham to Newcastle, can't even remember what I paid. Let's say it was 20 quid. When it comes to Super Fantasy Brawl, for example, that's going to be shipped from China to me. So I'm paying the cost of shipping all the way from China rather than them to ship it to Newcastle to their office where they can then sort them out from there. The difference is Mantic have storage space where they can store the stuff. Mythic Games don't have any storage space. And it's the same with a lot of things. It depends on where it comes to as a central hub for then kind of onward shipping. Mythic have tried to kind of minimize the amount of things that can go wrong by shipping everything from a central hub from China over into kind of Holland, and then from Holland out around Europe and stuff. So who knows? Who knows? I think there's a lot of stuff that we don't get to see. It wouldn't surprise me if there's some stuff hidden away in the Kickstarter itself that almost subsidizes the cost of shipping. Yeah, so it's very hard to it's hard to compare between companies, I think, and it's not always easy to kind of see. It's not easy to see this company's charging way too much when actually they're just charging you exactly what it costs. John is saying, I like Walking Dead or Conan Tower of the Elephant board game. Usually saying maybe an Airbnb could be an option for Adepticon. Yeah, I think so, mate. I assume Adepticon's becoming really, really busy now, though it's kind of hard to, even they'll be hard to kind of get a hold of. Claudio saying, yeah, true. I was hyped much more for Kickstarters a few years back, and I'm glad Kings of War 3 didn't use it. Yeah, I think Kings of War 3 is an example where Mantic know that they have an audience out there who will pick this up, therefore they don't need to rely on Kickstarter to fund it. I think other companies, look at like Simon, for example, everything goes to Kickstarter. Every single thing they do goes to Kickstarter. And again, those games enter into the retail stream and everywhere's got 25% off online. And the savings are just not necessarily there, especially by the time you include shipping costs. Because you don't pay any of those shipping costs when you're buying them online. There's a lot of stores you'll buy from and they'll say spend over £60, get free shipping. So there's a bigger picture to look at, I think, when it starts to look at Kickstarters these days. Paul saying, let's book a massive mansion for a BlackJack legacy trip next year. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Al Clooney's in. Evening, man. He says, damn late for the stream. I'll have to watch the start later. Hope everyone's had a good evening. Yeah, we're getting on in the time now. I mean, how we're doing, it's like nearly 1:45, so I'll be wrapping this up soon. I'll kind of get through these last few comments now. Where are we? Mark was saying about Zombicide Invader retails at 60 quid. It was a Kickstarter for £99 plus shipping. Exactly what I mean, mate. This is exactly what I mean. BJ says, morning, folks. Missed most of the show. You're not feeling the best today. Speedy recovery, mate. I hope you're feeling better soon. Sorry to hear that, man. Paul saying, get yourself a nice hot Fosters. Eddie Stanton's in. Hello, buddy. How you doing? He said he's finally made a live chat. Keep up the amazing work, mate. You've been getting me through all my terrain painting sessions. Thank you very much, mate. It's very kind of you to say so. Daniel says, thoughts on best value monsters for Warcry? I think they're all a similar price, I think, aren't they? What I would suggest is, mate, if you haven't already picked it up, the Start Collecting box for Flesh Eater Courts is a really good value. It'll give you enough models to give you a Flesh Eater Courts warband. It will give you a model or two as allies, and it'll also give you a monster as well. So if you can pick that up online with like 20% discount, you're probably looking in the region of about £40 for all of that stuff. That's not bad value. VG saying he's been super strict with himself on Kickstarter. Must have a solo mode. Must be good value. Must not have crazy shipping costs on top. Yeah, unfortunately, mate, you don't always get to find out the shipping costs until much later in the process. Sorry. Just as I say, he's just played his first game of 40k in like 6 months. Gotten so distracted by a solid board game kick. Oh man, did I ever miss my Necrons. I think a lot of people kind of got a little bit sidetracked with board games for a while because board games became very much miniature games. So yeah, good to see you getting some 40k in, man. Black's Cleric is saying, thoroughly enjoying your rants against Kickstarter. Real chat with loads of top advice. I'm not against Kickstarter in general. I just feel that I'm getting to a point now where I've seen enough now that the benefits of Kickstarter are starting to wear thin. There's too many examples I've seen where if I'd waited until it came to retail, which sometimes is still faster than waiting for the Kickstarter to deliver, I could have saved money. And that now is getting a bit like, nah, I feel like I've kind of been burned now. John Francis says, quick question. I have the Ronnie Zombie and the Ronnie Coach from Dreadball. Is he in any other Mantic games? There is a Ronnie the Bard in Vanguard, mate. There's a Ronnie the Bard miniature in that. I think that's everything. I think. Busey's just saying, we've been looking at Element Games website. Looks good. Never heard of it, but looks like good prices. Element Games in the UK is now the UK's biggest online retailer of miniature games. They generally have 15 to 20% discount, and they always get pretty much good stocks. So because they're a big company, they obviously order a lot, and they tend to have stuff in stock. So yeah, it's worth checking out. And obviously, I have an affiliate link through them. So if you do shop through there, decide to buy from Element Games, if you buy through my affiliate link, you'll pay the same discounted price, and I make a small commission for sending you their way. And you'll see a link to that on every one of my videos in the description. So if you ever decide to shop my Element Games, yeah, you can always help me out as well and help the channel out. Yeah, James is saying there about officially Court Star collecting boxes, amazing value. Paul Palms is saying Beast Grave is a great price on that. Yeah, it is, mate. And Christian is saying Element, a top store, great company to order from, and their stock substantially improved over the past few years. Yeah, the Element Games is where we have our top table Legacy Weekender as well. So that's where we'll be for the full weekend. Usually saying they've only done one Kickstarter, and that's the Terrain Tutor Essential Guide to Terrain book. Now I get that one. That really is about helping somebody out to achieve kind of like a project. Like Mel could not have done that without the help of Kickstarter, and I completely get trying to support him doing that. When you get the companies like Simon just churning out sort of Zombicide version 33, I start to get a bit cynical about it. And Ty Babies is saying, I found the other day, if you Google Element Games, Wayland is the top result. All that advertising money. Yeah. Interesting. Right, folks, I'm going to call it a night now because it's kind of gone a little bit longer than I planned to. But it's been a good bit of fun tonight. Let me know in the comments. Come back and drop a note in the comments. Let me know. Do you prefer these kind of just rambles? Is it worth doing one of these a month just as a bit of a change of pace? Do you prefer it when we've got a specific topic to talk about? Let me know if you've enjoyed it. Thank you, every single one of you, for watching tonight, and I will see you all in the next video.